All right, welcome to the second module. This is all about the fat loss basics. So with the fat loss basics, it's gonna entail the three things, which is mindset, exercise, training, and nutrition. I mean, these are just the three standard pillars. So let's get into it. First of all, just to understand the mindset with fat loss, I can just sum it up with one word, and that's just patience. So I love this quote, and it was done by Tony Robbins, or at least the variation I've heard was through Tony Robbins. And it's people often overestimate what they can achieve in the short term and underestimate what they can achieve in the long term. And so typically how this manifests is people get excited. They think they're going to lose 20 pounds in the first month. And then if that doesn't happen, then they just fall off the bandwagon and then it's just done with. Yeah, if they just stayed on the bandwagon, they could have done the 20 pounds in maybe 6 months. And then again, if they just kept continuing with that, then it would just cascade from there, and then they'd lose maybe 35 pounds by the end of the year, something like that. Where, if they just kept with that short sighted approach, they'd be maybe the same weight, if not 5 pounds heavier at the end of that year instead of 35 pounds less. And so, really, can't stress enough, patience is really key. Fat loss does not react to the whims of one particular exercise or one particular food. I mean, fat loss is just a process that we have to go through day in and day out. It can feel like a grind sometimes, just because it's not a linear thing. And so it's just one of those things, just to understand right from the get go that there will be fluctuations. And, it's just, as I mentioned before, it's just got to stay the course and just take it day by day. So, the real fat loss secret in all this is that you just need to let the process run its course and, just not fluctuate. Especially don't let your emotions fluctuate with whatever the scale may say from one day to the next. Specifically, just because, scale weight will fluctuate quite a bit in itself, just with water intake and depending on what you ate that day or how you moved that previous day. So, fat loss, it's real, but the reality is that it's just the game of patience, and there's no other way to really approach it. Otherwise, you may be upset or may get anxious with the process. Now, to go into the training, first we got pre and post workout, and so basically understand this. This is, I mean, these are definitely key, and what a good warm up will do is get your body ready for the workout, whatever type of workout that is, whether it's just a run, a 3 mile run outside, or whether it's strength training with me. Now, in large part, what I mean by getting ready is that your joints, your connective tissue, all that has to get loose and lubricated, and we have to get the blood flow going into the muscles. So this is key, and ultimately this is just so you get more out of the workout, and it also helps with injury prevention so that you don't pull anything. And so I put it right on my website, and you have access to this anytime. Transformations.fitness/warmup, and this will allow you to just check out the video. It's a pre-recorded video of me going through a pre-workout and a post-workout routine, and so just check it out there. And anytime you need a refresher or you just want to just walk through it with me, then just go to that website. The next component to this is the strength training, and strength training is the cornerstone of fat loss. You gotta really tax the muscle, just and tax the overall body to get that metabolism going. And there's a lot of benefits to this besides fat loss with strength training. So this is absolutely the cornerstone. This is, I feel like, one of the best, most important parts. I love programming for this kind of stuff, and there's a lot of principles to understand, but the most important one that I want you to understand is progressive overload. And all this means is that each time you come in, I just adjust and tweak a variable just to make the workout a little bit harder than the previous session, because your body's most likely going to be adapting or it has adapted to the previous session, and you'd be surprised how quickly it happens. And so each time, just to get the body off its toes or on its toes, and get you progressing throughout, it's just going to be maybe a different exercise variation. Maybe it's going to be an extra set. Maybe it's going to be different rep scheme. Maybe the weight's going to go up, where we'll increase weight. Maybe we'll decrease rest time, or maybe we'll focus on tempo with the rep. There's a lot of different ways to do this. So the overarching principle though is that we're going to make it a little bit harder, a little bit different, just so that your body has to stretch and reach a little bit more, so that you're burning more calories throughout the process. And so again, that's the main thing that we're going to be doing, just to create some metabolic demand to burn more calories. Although you don't really have to know much more beyond that, but that's a big thing that I follow. So I live by the credo that you should move your body each and every single day. The body is meant to move daily. We are not stagnant creatures. Back when we were, you know, hominids, or back in the is it Neanderthal? Yeah, the Neanderthal age. I mean, we were just hunter gatherers. We were just about moving every day. I mean, even if it was just to just find some berries, just find something to eat. I mean, there was not a time when we were ever stagnant or seated for 12 hours a day. So to understand this, we have to add in some additional workouts just so your body uh, just can move. I mean, you're not going to be strength training 7 days a week, but you can do other things on the days that you're not strength training. So we got bodyweight circuits. Bodyweight circuits are amazing. It's just a great way to tax the metabolic system in your body, and also tax your muscles in a different way. Maybe not as much as if you would in the gym, just because we don't have external resistance. Although again, it's great just to get the caloric boost. And the other benefit is that you can get these done anywhere. And so I have workouts that you can utilize anytime, anywhere. Again, on my website, transformations.fitness/workouts, and check them out there. I'll post them up as I create more and more. But you'll have a catalog of workouts, bodyweight workouts that you can do anytime, anywhere. Whether you are at home, whether you just want to just be outside on the beach, in the sun, or you're traveling and you don't have much available in the hotel gym. So get these bodyweight circuits done on the days when you're not strength training in the gym, and on the days maybe when you're not doing some cardio. Now, cardio is a big part of it. Not so much, and this is the misconception that a lot of people have. Cardio in itself does not really do a great job of getting the body to burn fat unless you're doing like a lot of heavy lifting with the cardio. And what I mean by that is you're going through fartlek runs, which means you sprint, then you run, at a slower pace, then you sprint again, then you run at a slower pace. And so, back when I was in college, the distance crew would often do fartlek runs where they would sprint, but they would do this for like 7 miles. So it was an intense workout where us sprinters, we would just stay on the track and work on our drills and our sprints as well. But we would do some distance runs every once in a while, and again, it wasn't just for any caloric burn. We didn't really care about that. Not when we wanted to get faster. It was more about recovery, and so that's why it's in here. Now, a lot of people don't understand that low intensity cardio is a great way to initiate and stimulate recovery just through increasing and promoting blood flow. So basically what this happens, blood basically delivers the nutrients to the muscles. So when you get good blood flow going around the body, you're delivering these nutrients around, you're reducing the inflammation, the soreness, and you're also you're getting the cells stronger. You're improving mitochondrial and cellular health. So all this does is just reduces stress and cortisol levels. You'll feel great at the end of a good cardio session. And again, not a high intensity type of cardio session. I'm just talking about like a low intensity, steady state cardio, whether you want to do it at the gym, on the treadmill, on the stairmaster, on the rower, or whether you just do it outside. I mean, you could easily do a good 30 minutes of cardio of just walking around the neighborhood with your dog. So there's benefits both ways there. But again, I just want to emphasize the cardio is really meant in this program, just not specifically for fat loss. It's really meant just to get the body moving and just get you recovered and feeling good for all the body weight and the semi-private sessions that you're doing. So a good target for the cardio is about 120 minutes per week. Now, it may sound like a lot. I don't know. I mean, it really just kind of depends on how you break it down, though. And so there's a lot of ways to do this. I mean, here's an example of one way you could do this, where you do 2 strength training sessions in the gym with 2 different body weight workouts. And then you also have, and you just fill in cardio on all the other days. And so, as you can see here, starting off with the body weight workout on a Monday, strength training on a Tuesday, cardio on a Wednesday, and so on and so forth. And you'll see I also included the times there. So even though it looks like a lot, the cardio sessions, especially on the days where it's by itself, is it's only 30 minutes. And so again, if you have a dog, this is easily done. You can just walk your dog for 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening, or you could just do a longer session. And then we also break up some of the bodyweight workouts since they are shorter. You can add in cardio at the end of those as well. Now, this is just one way to do it. You could basically just schedule however works best for you with your schedule, with your timelines, and so on. It does not have to be like this, but I just wanted to give you an example of one way that you could break it down. So one of the biggest things about fat loss that I really want to emphasize is to be consistent. And one of the best ways to be consistent with your workouts specifically is to schedule them in your calendar every single week. It's one of the main factors that I think keeps people from regularly exercising, is because they do not set the time aside for exercise. It's a back burner activity. It's just more like, if I have the time, I'll definitely go to the gym if I have the time. But of course, there's always something that's going to come up. It's just how it works. Unless it's scheduled in your calendar, it's not a priority. So make it a priority by scheduling it in at least a week ahead of time and treat it like an appointment, like a doctor's appointment. If a friend came up to you and said, "Hey, I want to do lunch tomorrow at 1 o'clock," but you already had a doctor's appointment there, you'd be like, "Yeah, unfortunately I can't. I already had this scheduled in. Although, how about whatever time?" So treat it the same way. Don't. It's a priority. Do not reschedule that workout. Reschedule that lunch, because the workout is that important. So do yourself a favor at the beginning of every week. Schedule your workouts. Plan it all out. So taking a look back, write it down specifically. Oh, okay, so Monday's gonna be my body weight workout A, and I'm gonna do that from 11:30 to 12 during a lunch break. Tuesday, my cardio session in the morning, and whatever. So you got the idea, but just actually lay it all out there. So we're gonna move on to nutrition, the third pillar, the third leg of this stool, of this fat loss stool, if you will. But basically, I'm gonna keep this a little bit more basic. I just want you to understand the macronutrients behind nutrition and what we're gonna be eating. First one is protein. Now with protein, there's about 4 calories to the gram, if you're interested in something like that. But the most important thing that I want you to get out of this is that you should be building your meal around protein. It should be considered a major player in the meals, and it should be the priority, just because of the thermic effect of eating. I mean, protein delivers a whole ton of nutrients. We're talking about minerals, we're talking about micronutrients, we're also talking about healthy fats, and it's one of those things that mm, it's one of those I lost my train of thought there. It's one of the few foods, because fats aren't like this, carbohydrates aren't like this. Protein is one of those rare foods that actually requires you to burn calories as you're digesting it. And again, I just mentioned this. It's called the thermic effective eating. So protein has a high thermic effective eating, meaning that about 25% of the calories you're ingesting from protein is already getting burnt up just from digestion alone. And so there's a lot of benefits to eating good clean protein. And so what's a good clean protein? Well, basically that is you want to be choosing oh, I just skipped. You want to be choosing wild caught seafood, making sure again you're looking for that wild caught designation. You want to be looking for grass fed or grass finished beef or red meat, and you also want to be looking for free range poultry. So with free range poultry, that can include turkey, that can include chicken, and that can include the eggs as well. But these are definitely the best sources of proteins that you can have. Again, that are chock full of nutrients. You'll feel great after eating them. Although, sometimes it's not always available just because of where you're shopping or just because of financial restriction, just because it'll be a little bit more expensive more often than not. And so if you're unable to purchase, you know, only wild caught seafood, grass fed and free range, then pick and choose. I mean, it can be very flexible just in terms of just, what your preference is. So say for example, the free range poultry is a good price, although the grass fed steaks are, exorbitantly expensive. Well, that's fine. Just get the regular free range poultry and just get regular, ground beef, or instead of the grass fed beef or the grass fed steak or whatever. Pick and choose. The thing is, do your best when you can. And this applies to even things at restaurants. For example, say you're going out for your birthday, and this is a fancy steakhouse, but they do not have, you know, a good grass fed or grass finished steak. Then just enjoy the regular steak, get plenty of vegetables on the side, and enjoy it. It's definitely better than getting something like hot dogs and fries or something like that. So there's always, a whole spectrum, and the wild caught, the grass fed, the free range, that's definitely on the best end of the spectrum. Yet make the decisions appropriate when, the circumstances or the environment's a bit different. Now, I didn't mention protein powders, but protein powders are another great alternative where it can be super convenient to have, and they also can taste great too. And so, good protein powders such as whey, casein, or any type of plant-based protein powder, those are generally, I mean, I just consider them more like foods. They're just more designer type foods than supplements, to be honest. I mean, I think it can help a lot of people just because it is convenient, it is simple, it can be just a quick meal on the go. And so I really want people to understand that that's, to me, it's definitely a solid food, a solid option to have around as well. Now, the only protein powder I do not recommend is any type of protein powder. So make sure that when you're looking at protein powders, specifically for the plant-based protein powders, make sure it does not say soy isolate or soy concentrate in the ingredients label. If it does, it's just a good indication that it's a cheaper, that the brand was looking to cut costs and they threw it in. Soy is just a cheap protein, and there's so many better alternatives. So just do away with the soy. Now, one last thing I'll do to finish up is just understand that for serving size for protein, it's roughly the size of your palm. So you open up your hand, look at your palm, and that's roughly a serving size for you. So let's get on to fats. Fats has been one of those things that has been getting a bad rep since the 1980s from all the propaganda and the FDA nonsense that were going on back then. And still to this day, this image still persists that eating fat will make people fat. Well, here's the truth. Eating fat will not make you fat. It just doesn't happen that way. Fat is very essential for cell function. It will help you feel full. It'll help you feel alert, decreasing hunger. increasing satiety. I mean, the truth is that we just need good, healthy fats in our body every single day. But one of those things with fats is that it can be very calorically dense. It has about 9 calories per gram. So, of course, you do not want to be overeating just like anything else, just because that will stall weight loss. Because ultimately, we just want to be expending more calories than we're ingesting. That's really the sum of it. So, good sources of fat, just about any types of nuts and seeds that you can find. We have avocados, macadamia nut. Oh, what I meant by this, avocado oil, macadamia nut oil, extra virgin olive oil, extra virgin coconut oil. So those are like some of the top oils to have in your household, in your pantry. Grass-fed butter or grass-fed ghee, which is just a clarified butter. It's great. Ghee is a great alternative if you're lactose intolerant. So clarified butter, ghee, MCT oil, which has just been it's been getting a lot of good. Well, it's just been in the news a lot more lately, or at least uh, in more people's consciousness, just because of the keto diet. But MCT oil has been around for a long time, and it's a solid, clean fat source. And then also avocados and coconuts. I mean, if you love eating your fat, I love avocados. I love coconuts. It's just the texture, the taste, the flavor, everything about it. It's another great source for healthy fats. And I mean, when you're looking at serving sizes, just a good rule of thumb is about looking at the size of your thumb, and that's about one serving of oil, butter, and if you're thinking about like nuts and seeds and so on, it's just a small handful is about a serving. Avocado, coconut, same thing. A small handful is about a serving of those. So carbohydrates, now this has kind of been the thing that's been vilified more as of recent, specifically with things like the keto and paleo diet. Now understand this is that carbs really aren't the devil. They're not inherently a bad thing. The truth is you just have to earn your carbs. And when I say carbs, I'm just talking about like natural carbs. I'm not talking about the junk that's actually out on the in the markets, like cereals and breads and all that kind of stuff. Like I'm just talking about just the natural, nature grown carbohydrates. So obviously, what do I mean by that? Fruits and vegetables. I mean that's it essentially. Earn your carbs, and when I say earn your carbs, I'm not talking about vegetables or anything. I'm just talking about uh, more of like the starchier type of carbohydrates, and that is, you know, butternut squash. It's sweet potatoes. It's taro, beets. These are all the starchier type of carbohydrates. And when I say earn your carbs, I just mean have those on your workout days, specifically the hard training types of days when you're in the gym, the strength training days, or maybe even if you just pushed the bodyweight workout to your capacity. So that's when you can earn those carbs. I mean, they taste delicious. You can definitely add a little coconut to butternut squash, coconut and cinnamon, and it's just phenomenal. And taro, or otherwise known as poi, that's just another great addition to just about any other type of protein and vegetable dish. So sweet potatoes, I mean, they're so good you could just eat them by itself. So there's a lot of great alternatives here, and the benefit to these types of carbs is that loaded with nutrients and fiber as well. So when I'm talking about the other fruits and vegetables, essentially you just want to be having about one fruit a day on average, not more than that, but just one fruit per day, and vegetables as much as you can. I mean, really, there's no limit on this. Just you want to be eating as much vegetables as you can. And when I'm talking about these vegetables, it's things like sweet bell peppers, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, spinach, mushrooms, onions, uh, kale, celery, green beans, like just those as much as you possibly can. So, carbohydrates, I mean, we need them. I mean, that's just the truth. We need them just because of the nutrients and and the fiber. But again, I'm not talking about the breads, the pastas, the cookies. Like we're not talking about the junk. I'm talking about the naturally grown types of carbohydrates, fruits and vegetables. That's about it. So you have these pieces down. The last thing to talk about is water. Now we all know this. Water is a necessity for the body. It's a necessity for life. Just about all life forms on this planet, most life forms rely on water, and it's just something that I just want to stress. You got to have enough water. And what is enough? Well, basically, you want to be drinking about 1 liter for every 50 pounds of body mass that you carry. So using myself for example, I weigh about 175 pounds. So that means I shoot for at least 3.5 liters per day, every single day. And the best, or at least for me, the easiest ways to do this is just to carry a water bottle around. Something, like a hydro flask, so the water will stay cool. But something like that where you can just constantly have it on hand, and that'll keep, it on top of mind awareness so that you can just keep on drinking. And my last point on water is really that, you know, fat loss is hard enough. And if you're not staying hydrated, that's just going to slow down all the processes within the body. I mean, just think of it as like the lubricant for your joints, for your organs, and so on. I mean, we absolutely need water. And if we're not getting that, if we're inflamed, if we're dehydrated, fat loss is the last thing that your body's going to do. It's just not going to be primed for fat loss. It's just like thinking, oh, you know what? The house is burning down, but I really should go and change the light bulb in the bathroom because that burnt out last week. I mean, that sounds ridiculous to say, but that's essentially an analogy for your body. If you're not getting in enough water, if your body's inflamed in some regard just because of the way you're eating, because of all the carbohydrates, the sugars, the cookies, the candy, so your body's inflamed because of that, because you're not, because you're dehydrated, you're not getting enough water, then fat loss is it's an afterthought. There's no way. Your body's got a lot of other things to focus in on. So you got to get all the components correct, which isn't hard to do, but it does take, patience, and it does take consistency every single day, just adding on one extra thing. I got my workout in. Oh, you know what? I'm going to stay away from Jack in the Box. How about I go to Whole Foods instead? Just making a slightly better decision each and every day. And fat loss will come. As I alluded to in the beginning, fat loss is a game of patience. And it's going to be a process, but it will come. So that said, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.